Welcome to Paranormal Latte Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Kelly Renee Schutz. Sit back and relax with us. Grab yourself a really good drink. Spend an hour and let's delve into a world of chatter about the mysteries of the unexplained. Whether you are a skeptic or a believer makes no difference. It's not always in your imagination. Enjoy your day. Now that was good. We are broadcasting on the United Public Radio and UFO Paranormal Radio Networks, 105.3 FM from the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. The views and opinions expressed by the host and guests do not necessarily reflect those of the audience, United Public Radio and UFO Paranormal Radio Networks, its hosts, affiliates, and or Paranormal Latte Podcast, Paranormal Universal Press LLC, and Diamond Point Entertainment LLC. This show is pre-recorded. Now that was good. Good day, everyone, and thanks again for joining me for yet another exciting episode of Paranormal Latte Podcast. My name is Dr. Kelly Renee Schutz. I am the host and the producer of this show. We have an interesting guest with us tonight, someone I have known for a very long time. Kat Ward is with us, and just to give you a bit of her background, she has been a paranormal experiencer and sensitive since a very young age, growing up on the east coast of Canada in the province of New Brunswick. She has sought out to find answers to the unexplained, which ultimately has led her to becoming and became at one point a paranormal investigator with the Canadian Supernatural Research Society. She has made it her mission to help people understand their paranormal experiences and to comfort them in knowing that they are not alone in their experiences, which has led her to begin, and for 8+ years, a podcast called Paranormal Heart Podcast. Paranormal Heart Podcast provides a safe place where people can openly talk about their paranormal encounters without being ridiculed or judged. She has also been narrating an audiobook for the series called The Obsidian Guardian, as written by J.B. Coates. We had a lot to talk about this evening, so sit back and enjoy. Please welcome to the show my friend, Kat Ward. Well, welcome, Kat, and thank you so very much for coming back to the show today.
Anytime. Thank you so much. I love talking with you.
Oh, Kat has been on various shows of mine, and she's now going to be on a few new ones of mine. And so I'm very excited to have her be back. She's very fascinating, very interesting. And actually, I was just thinking about this the other day. I think, I might be wrong here, other than one other person, I think you were one of my first interviews that I had a long time ago, because we kind of know each other. And Kat, why don't you tell people what show you have and how long you've been going for?
Thank you. Yeah, so you've also been a guest on my show. So the show's called Paranormal Heart Podcast. At the end of November, it'll be 8 years that I've had the show. I can't believe it. Like, when I first started, I was uncertain, and a friend of mine said, after about 5 to 8 episodes, you'll know if you want to keep going. And, well, it's been almost 8 years now. So you can find me on YouTube, Podbean, Spotify, all those platforms, and UPRN 107.1 and 105.3 as well. I joined the network, I think it was October of last year. I'm not really sure. It's almost been a year, but Yeah, so if anybody wants to reach out to me, I'll mention it now. I don't have a website yet, still being worked on, but I do have an email. It's paranormalheart13@gmail.com. If you just want to say hello, you have suggestions for guests or topics or whatever, comment, feel free to drop me an email.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I will also have this at the end of the show or in the show notes, and you can grab her that way. So thank you very much. So a lot of people are now becoming acquainted with you. And so let's go back and let's help them out a little bit to get a feel for where this all began with you, and we'll just evolve it from there.
Sure. So in a galaxy far, far away.
Literally.
I am Canadian. I'm originally from the East Coast in a province called New Brunswick. I now live in the Ottawa Valley in Ontario, Canada. I started out before the podcast, I was a paranormal investigator. I say was because I haven't really been active with the team the past few years. I can't get my work schedule to coincide with theirs, but it's called Canadian Supernatural Research Society. It's a mouthful. Started investigating with them several years ago, and I started realizing that a lot of our clients had kind of like a PTSD because, let's say it's a family, for example, let's say the husband would have the experiences and the wife wasn't, and she just didn't believe them. And it gets to be where you don't even want to discuss it with your spouse anymore because you're wondering about your own sanity. You know you're having these experiences that shouldn't be happening and nobody else is having them. So you're starting to doubt yourself. But as soon as we go in and do investigation, they feel comforted. That's like, yes, you can tell us. We're not going to judge. We're here to find out what's going on. Sometimes it is the circuit breaker that should be shielded a little better, but sometimes there's actually ghost or something going on, and we try and help them. Once we figure out what's going on, we tell them, do you want us to get rid of these? Some people are like, yeah, even if it's grandma, I don't want her in the house. So we sage, we teach them how to get rid of things and how to let these entities know that this is my house and you're not going to be here anymore. I jokingly tell some people, like this one woman, you have to use your mom voice to tell them, like, put your foot down, this is my place. Mm-hmm. And then I had a friend several years ago that had me on his show. It was the very first show that I did. Oh my God, I can't remember what it's called. It's from Odd to Newfoundland with John Mallard. And I had some family and friends say, you should start your own podcast. And each time I was like, hell no. Yeah. Yeah. So when I mentioned that to my husband, he's like, well, why don't you? I'm like, I don't know. That's something somebody else does. Mm-hmm. And I started thinking, it's like, well, maybe I should, because my husband's like, you love the paranormal, you love talking with people. It's a no-brainer. So it took me a year until I actually started thinking about it, until I actually put out an episode, because I wanted to make sure my audio was perfect. Because to me, there's nothing worse than listening to a show and the audio is crap. Yeah. It just takes away from it for me. So finally, a friend of mine said, okay, you when are you putting the show out? It's been a year. You're not going to, try not to get perfect. Just, do the show. And it's like, okay. And I did. And I have improved over the years, with audio equipment and stuff like that. But so I wanted to have a safe place for people to be able to talk about their paranormal encounters where they're not going to be ridiculed. I mean, I was not there, so I don't know. But it's just good for people to actually hear other shows too, because my first encounter in New Brunswick was with the Hat Man, but he was 4 feet tall. Didn't know that anybody else had seen this entity. Years later, as an adult, I'm listening to a podcast, and their guest was talking about the Hat Man, and I thought, first of all, there's a name for this entity, and other people have seen it. So I reached out to the podcast. They sent me a little clip, said, you need to watch this. So I did, and it was this other man who reenacted the short hat man that he saw, and it was identical to what I saw as a child. I'm still trying to find this guy on YouTube because I want to talk to him. This is like 10 plus years, I think, that when I saw this, but to know that other people are experiencing the same thing was such a huge relief. Like, you don't actually question your sanity as much, you know? So that's pretty much the skinny on how I started the show.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because most people don't realize or have, well, first of all, a lot of them don't have experiences at all. But with something that short, resembling what most people come to know as a shadow with a hat on. Yes. It's very interesting. I can't remember. I know you've told me this story before, but I can't remember. How did you come to see this thing? Was it in your room? Yes. Did it circle your bed or stand by your bed? I can't remember.
Yeah, well, first of all, the building that we lived in at the time, when they first, I don't know how old it was, it's not there anymore, but it used to have a coal furnace in the basement, so it was really old. But when we lived in it, it was electric heat. But it was a very creepy building. I've had good times there because my parents, I was very lucky and so blessed to have a great childhood. But in my room, I would see this dark entity, a shadow, with a bolero hat, looked like a cloak, and he would never pay attention to me, but it would scare the crap out of me every time. It wasn't every night, but it was often enough that I'm 58 now, and I've never forgotten him. But after we moved from the apartment, I've never seen him again. But he never paid attention to me, like he was looking for something, like almost making his rounds. And I had a big walk-in closet, and my dad even today says I used to have night terrors in that apartment building, and I would scream about the man in my closet. And he took me into the closet one day and say, "See, kiddo, there's nothing here at night that's not here at the daytime." I kind of backfired on him because I looked at him and said, "You mean he's here in the daytime too?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh."
Yeah.
So I was terrified of my room day and night for the longest time. But later on, as I got more into the paranormal, I have two trusted psychics that they are so incredibly talented. They don't know each other. And I asked them, "What do you think this hat man was?" And they feel it was a guardian of mine, because normally the shadow people, hat man, usually they're not very nice.
Yeah.
I didn't see any facial features because some people report they see red eyes or whatever. Has carrying a stopwatch, but those are the taller ones. But the short one was apparently, to my friends here, said that it was a guardian. So I don't know. And I've been trying to, I have to go back home and maybe look at the old archives to see. I still remember the address and everything. So I want to see if I can find out any information about that building.
Yeah.
I mean, something that happened before the building was built. Something happened in the building. Like, I don't know. It's just, it's driving me nuts because I want to research it, but the building's not there anymore.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole thing. Oh, did you say they took it down or tore it down?
Yeah, they tore it down many years ago. Yeah.
Yeah. And, a person doesn't really know whether that residual energy still resides there. Some people say, oh, if we live in a parallel world of some sort and the veil is really thin, that essentially if there's anything residual, that these apparitions are just going about their day in an empty space as if they were in their house from before that's been torn down. I just find it so bizarre that something would just continue to carry on with its energy, even though the structure's not there anymore. But then when they walk through walls, do they really know that they're walking through a wall? Question mark, right? So exactly, it is fascinating, though. And yeah, it's kind of sad. I mean, eventually things have to come down, or they're going to end up getting burned down or fall down, or something's going to happen to them. And then you just wonder if the land of which something resided, I don't know, if there's any residual energy. All right, so you've had this experience and things have kind of moved along for you. I can't remember, correct me on this one. Do you have any of the clairs regarding your sensitivities? Are you an empath, clairvoyant, anything like that? I can't remember.
I consider myself a sensitive. I always have been, just because I haven't tried to really hone in on it, and and it just happens. if there's something negative, I call it my spidey senses. I get tingles on my back. I see things in my mind like it was a memory. Like, let's say I'm thinking of you maybe 5 years ago and you were wearing a red shirt. That's how I see things.
Right.
And sometimes I'll be thinking of a person and I see colors associated with them. So I'll Google the shade and I'll send it to them saying, I'm seeing this color with you right now. Does it mean anything? And it could be the exact same shade for another person, but they have different meanings. I never know the meaning. I'm thinking of the individual. I see that particular shade and I ask them, and then they're like, yeah, totally. It does have meaning for them. So it's kind of neat that happens, but, yeah.
Do you get flashes? I get flashes periodically, and then something like, I mean, flashes depending on for example, if I'm at a horse racing event or something like that, like the Kentucky Derby, and I'm betting on a horse just for fun. Sometimes I get a flash of either the number or the color. Do you get flashes like that?
Yeah, I also hear things every once in a while. So my husband and I went to this place in Ontario, just outside of Ottawa a few years ago, and there's ruins there, old buildings. So we decided we're going to go see what the ruins are like. And this one building, the closer we were approaching it, I kept hearing horses. And I was just like, I don't know, but that building, it's horses. So as we approached it, it used to be a stable. And I was just like, oh, okay then. So my husband's like, no way, like you could hear the horses. I'm like, yeah, I heard the horses. You couldn't enter the building, but we could look in through the window, and it's like, okay, that's kind of neat. So it's really interesting, and I absolutely love it when you have confirmation like that.
Yeah. So you've been doing a lot of different shows now on your podcast, and you've interviewed quite a lot of people with interesting types of backgrounds. Is there anybody that comes to your mind, as I'm asking you this question, who has just kind of stuck with you a little bit more than all the others, even though doesn't mean that they're any more special. It just means something struck her that, I don't know, that maybe was meaningful to her or whatever. Have you thought about that at all on who that might be? Or you don't even have to mention their name, just what the subject matter was?
Oh yeah, for sure. I've been asked this question a lot, so I'm going to mention him. His name's Dr. David Perrodin. He used to have a podcast called The Safety Doc because he goes into schools and stuff like that, and he teaches people about situational awareness. And very, very interesting guy. He had one paranormal experience as he was he had to write his thesis for his university degree, and he had to go in and hand it in. So, and this one, like, I love every one of my guests, but this one is just a little more different, and it just, for whatever reason, grabbed my attention. So he walks into this building, and he knows he has to go up to the second floor or whatever it was. So, it's being renovated. The building's being renovated because it's really, really, and I can't remember the name of the university or where, but it's very, very old. I think from the 1800s.
Wow.
So it's being renovated, but normally, in today, you usually have like caution tape, cones, or whatever. He said there was none of that, and it was kind of like dusty, like a hazy. And he could hear, all the workers were gone. He could hear workers doing the repairs, but it was with the old-fashioned tools. And he's just like, okay, that's kind of strange. So he... all of a sudden, this guy comes out of nowhere, all jovial, and if memory serves, he was dressed kind of like a train conductor, I think. And he says, "Oh, hey, I'm going to guide you to where you need to go." And David's like, "Okay." So get into the elevator, he gets off, tells him where the room is, and he turns around to say thank you, and the guy's gone. Like, he's just like, okay. Now, this guy knows about his situational awareness. I'm sorry if you can hear the dog barking.
Oh, no, not at all.
Okay, good. So he's trained on situational awareness. He said he had a difficult time finding where the exit was himself. He was all disoriented.
Yeah.
And by the time he finally was able to get out, it was dark, and there was his vehicle and one other vehicle where it was daytime. He was only there to drop off his thesis. He wasn't there for very long, but then, like I said, he got lost. So I think, oh, yes, and this gentleman said, I guess my work here is done, or something to that effect, and then just, gone. So, and he said, I think if memory serves, because it was quite a few years ago, even the way he spoke was a little different. Yeah. Inflections and things. So I tell him that because of the haziness or the dust or whatever, that for whatever reason, I think he entered some kind of a temporal anomaly, and that being was there to guide him out because he maybe not would have been able to find his way out. Mm-hmm. For whatever reason. So it's just something that's really, really fascinating. And this guy, like I said, he knows where all the exits are. He teaches people, like he was telling me that there was this theater in the States. I don't remember the date or anything. There was a fire, and most people perished because they were all fixated. They kept going by the emergency exits, but they were fixated on going out the way they came in. Mm-hmm. Because they're all in a panic mode. So he always knows where the exits are. Mm-hmm. It's just how he thinks. Mm-hmm. So for him to be disoriented like that and not be able to find the exit is really intriguing to me.
Do you think that he walked into a portal?
I think so.
Yeah. For yourself, though, was there ever a time that you had one of these compelling moments where you actually felt a little frightful?
Speaking with a guest or during investigations?
Either.
Oh, not when I was speaking with a guest, but there was this one instance. Well, there's a couple. There's two. One was not an investigation. One was. So we're investigating a business, and it was my job to set up the wires for the cameras so we could watch them on the monitors. And so we hadn't even started the investigation yet. And lead investigator Katie came up to me. And when she spoke to me, she sounded like she was way far down a hall. And she was right in front of me. And she says, are you okay? And I just kind of looked at her. And she says, something tried to go into you. And I just shook my head yes. And she says, go get your crystals and go get them now. Because I like to keep selenite and hematite on me. Selenite for getting rid of negative entities and energy, and hematite for grounding. It's just, I'm drawn to those two. Yeah. So I dropped the cables right at her feet, and I booked it right for my little case that I had. And normally I have one piece of selenite. I grabbed all three pieces, I shoved them in my pocket, and they started in the basement, which was a dirt floor, and they actually had a well in there at one time. It's boarded over, so it was a very old building. So I told the gang, I'm just going to sit at the monitors because I need to I need to compose myself. Right. I feel like I'm open right now, and whatever, I don't know if something wanted to communicate with me and they tried it that way, but I got really angry that they dared to do that. So I started praying. I started, my mom's passed, so I started saying to my mom, please give me the strength. Something that I do to protect myself, I envisioned white light from inside, and I burst it out to try and push things away. So I was just sitting there watching the monitors, and I actually spoke out loud saying, okay, if you're trying to communicate with me, that's not the way to do it. You do not touch any of us. We have equipment here, and we don't know how old these entities are, so we always explain what the box with lights are on. That, it's like, you'll communicate with us through this, you'll communicate with us through that, touch that, whatever, but not us. Do not touch us. And then later on, after the investigation was done, we all get into Katie's car, and Katie says, where did you go? And I said, I have no idea, but I really didn't like it, and I got angry because how dare they? And instead of being at first I was frightened, but then it's just like, really? No, that's not happening. So, and then I told her, I said, when you were speaking to me, like you were just right in front of me, you sounded like you were far down a hall, which was the weirdest thing. So, again, that hasn't happened before or since.
Yeah, reminds me when I was in Zach Bagan's Haunted Museum. Something slipped right at me and took me out on the stairwell, and I practically crawled up the stairs. I laid against the wall, and I shut the place down for 8 minutes. But when you said it sounded like they're far away, my sister was screaming, because she couldn't tell what was going on with me. Something had actually I call it, they found their crack and then they slipped right in. And when I was looking out, they all sounded like they were in a drum, and I saw these shadows. That's what it looked like through my eyes. And I kept hearing this one gal that was kind of leading at first the pack. Can you continue? And just like a far away. It was like being in a drum. It's very crazy. You don't know where they're slipping into. Over time, have you figured out how they manage to creep inside us, some of us?
No, the only thing that I can think of is I hadn't had my shields up yet. I was just concentrating on getting the equipment out, and they got me at a vulnerable time, perhaps.
Yep. Because that's what I said when I went in there. Oh, this is nothing more than like an antique store. We should be protected. It's all behind glass, yada, yada, yada. Oh my God. Yeah, it had the right moment, the right time, and then bam. So that's very interesting. I didn't know you also had a similar experience like that too. Mm-hmm. So, and let's go back to some of these guests here, because I have quite an interesting group of people come on the show once in a while, and they all have something to offer. They all have a very unique perspective. A lot of them have that might do the same type of work or same type of thing, has a different way of going about it or whatever. I don't know. My question to you now would be, and I'm sure it may or may not happen on this show. Usually I have some unusual things happening either on my guest side or on my side when it comes to the interview. Like I could see on one of my interviews, there was an orb, literally saw the orb go around my guest and into this doll that he was just about to show me that was haunted, or he believed it was haunted. Yeah. I've had all kinds of crazy things happen while I have my shows, and they more crazy though when I start talking to people about their UFO experiences or what they think, where this comes from. Let me zip it back to you. Have you experienced yet anything crazy that may happen in your environment or the other person's environment that you come to recognize, like, oh, this is bizarre? Anything?
Yeah, I had this one guest. He told me that there was something over my right shoulder that he could see, some entity. I don't remember what the description was. And all of a sudden, our CO2 monitor went off, and it speaks as well. Is that the one that speaks, or was that another house?
Like an the Ovilus or something?
Well, no, because there was one house that would, the fire alarm would say, in French and English, fire, feu, carbon monoxide, monoxide de carbone, and it would beep and do that. But I don't think it did speak. It was just beeping. Yeah. And I thought, what's going on? So I opened up the door and I told the guests, I'm like, I'm really sorry. And I asked the family, like, what's going on? They're like, I don't know, the carbon monoxide thing's going off, which was really weird. It's never, ever done that before or since. They even tried bringing one of the carbon monoxide detectors from the basement to plug it into that one. And it was just like, that didn't go off. So they thought they'd bring the one that was going off into the basement. Nothing's going on. And as soon as they put it back, it's just like, was it a faulty unit? Like, I don't know. It's never done that. So that was kind of weird. I was like, okay. And the guy's like, yeah, apparently someone's trying to say, hey, I'm here.
Yeah. And why do they always pick these things anyway? I know that they like to pick on electronics because obviously they have some kind of a energy surge or whatever that they're getting off of that. But they do seem to show themselves in very interesting ways. Have you ever had anything disappear on you and then reappear in some very unusual spots? Have you ever had that yet?
Oh, yeah. Throughout my life, like, set of keys, I know I placed them right there, and then they're gone. I've actually, over the years, started saying, okay, joke's on me. Could you put them back, please?
Yeah.
And they'll either appear at the same spot or someplace else. It's just like, okay, I know, because keys, you put them at the same spot. At least I do.
Yeah.
So it's like, why are you over there where I wouldn't even have gone over there? It's really interesting. Something trying to get your attention.
Yeah, and it's if you had I mean, I have cameras up in my house for various reasons, particularly, and of course, there's a lot of orb activity that goes on, and people have their opinions about orbs, of course, but the intelligent ones usually can tell them versus anything else that might appear to be dust or moisture or whatever, or some bug or something like that flying around. But you can't have cameras in your house 24/7. It gets to be a little bit crazy, When they take that, it would be just so fascinating to just see if they floated across the way and were placed down, or if they just suddenly disappeared and then reappeared in another spot. That's the mystery that I don't think a lot of people have ever really gotten to see or capture. They just go, where are my keys? And it's just like, bring them back and don't, and logically it just seems kind of interesting, So where you're at right now, would you call your area very haunted, or just a typical average neighborhood? Anything happening in your neighborhood?
Well, I do live in a military community, so PMQs, which are military housing, I find we've done a few investigations in the PMQs, and somebody asked me once, why do you think there's a lot of activity in these houses? And I said, because you have so many families and individuals moving in and out. There's so much, especially if someone's missing their significant other who's overseas on tour or something, there's lots of emotion that goes through in those buildings. Happiness, sadness, depression, so many, and it just saturates in the walls and the floors, and a lot of time it is residual, but some of them they're intelligent. So I do find that military housing, they're a little more active than other houses, I feel anyways.
That's interesting. I never really thought about that. I guess the other thing might be like it seems like anything form of trauma or PSTD or something like that. Maybe
PTSD, yep.
Yeah, could also enlighten something or awaken something, because there's a lot of different emotions that come along with that too. But I never really thought about that. I want to think about that in terms of maybe delving into it, or if I do write another book, which God, I hope not, but I'm sure it'll happen. Maybe that's something, or a new twist that I'll do is start looking into some of these interesting things, which brings me to like a hospital, for example. We hear of so many things going on in hospitals and nursing homes, and of course there's a lot of emotion there. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of not just fear, but there's just a lot of everything that goes on there. Have you heard of many stories or anything of people that have experienced something in a hospital, as an example?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I've experienced something at the Edmonton Hospital. So our daughter had to go for some tests. And so my husband and I took her, and they were going to be like at least an hour doing some tests. Mm-hmm. She's fine, by the way. This is a few years ago. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, like my husband and I are walking hand in hand, and all of a sudden he could feel a shift in me, and I'm tense. And he goes, "You're picking up on something." I'm like, children, so many children, so it's too much. I just kept saying that over and over, and we kept on walking. And then he goes, "Now I know why." I'm like, "Why?" I looked up. We were in the children's hospital. I didn't know that.
Oh,
so they were all coming. I could envision them all coming. It's like, "Oh, she can see us. She can hear us. She knows we're here." And I had to tell them, "Please, it's too overwhelming. Just could you back off? Like, you can follow us, that's fine, but just don't crowd me because it's just overwhelming. And they did, but that was the weirdest thing. All I kept mumbling to my husband's like, children, so many children, too many children, and so that was really interesting.
Did they die there? Is that why they were?
I think so.
Following you, or yeah. You bring up a good point about being a beacon, or I call myself a lighthouse, and it's on 24/7. And it's just like, I used to, do a lot of searching, ghost searching and stuff like that. Periodically, I'll try to put myself in a haunted bed and breakfast or something perceived. And I always tell people, I don't usually have to go looking for it. Usually it comes and finds me. So the roles have reversed here over time. How do you feel with yourself? Because obviously you're still, or you were, quite a beacon, and things do have a tendency to come toward you.
Yeah. So my husband is ex-military. He just retired this year after 26 years. And we were living out west, and we were in Ontario on our house hunting trip. Mm-hmm. And the military doesn't give you a lot of time. That they give you like 5 days to find a house. So in 2 days, we looked at over 20 houses. And my husband kept asking me, what are you sensing? I'm like, nothing. They're neutral. Mm-hmm. The house that we did buy felt happy. Mm-hmm. So that's the one that we wound up buying. But there was this one house. There's only 2 houses. So you go down onto the streets, and on the left, there's a little side street. There's only 2 houses. And then there's the Ottawa River right there. Mm-hmm. It's a military guy that was posted out. Him and the movers were there. He's getting packed up. Like, he hadn't sold his house yet. So the realtor, my husband, and I went to check it out. And as soon as I walked onto the property, I felt something wasn't right. Mm-hmm. So it had almost an acre of land on this one house, which is a lot for this area.
Yeah.
So we go up into the attic because they had turned the attic into a bedroom. And it's just like, oh, this is amazing. This is where we could have our bedroom. So I'm halfway up the stairs, and I'm slowing down. And my husband says, you're picking up on something, aren't you? And I shook my head, yes. He goes, it's not good, is it? And I'm like, no. All I could sense was something that was very, very ancient. And in my mind's eyes, I saw 2 huge eyes, or my mind's, 2 huge eyes wake up. Like, I woke up, whatever it was, and it was not happy because I woke it up. It's like, okay, do the white light thing, push it out. So then we continue the looking through the house, and we're in the basement. Packers are still there. And then we didn't tell the realtor what I do. So all of a sudden, but I think he sensed something, because I said, you guys can continue. I'm just going to go outside. Mm-hmm. All 3 of us, the realtor, we're all like, just booked it out of the house. So he must have sensed something too. Mm-hmm. And I told the team, I said, if I won't be surprised that if we receive a phone call, because whoever's going to buy this house, maybe that thing is still there. We haven't yet. And then recently, a friend of mine and I went for a drive, and she said she had bought something at a state auction at a house, and she thought it was the same house I was at. So we went for a drive. Sure enough, it was the same house, and I saw in the backyard bunch of kids' toys, swings, and all that. And I'm like, oh God, I hope whatever's there is dormant. But every time I would drive past that house, I would say, F you, whatever you are, F you. Mm-hmm. It's like, yeah, we're not going to buy this house. Message received, and I'm good. We're not going to buy the house. But I haven't heard of anybody having any experiences there. So,
well, you bring up a good, interesting point, because I've been through a number of houses myself. Mm-hmm. I'm on my 5th house after so many years, a lot of years. And there is, like, even when a person is trying to sell their house, there are so many energies that come in to look at your house, go through it. I mean, usually I try to empty my homes when I'm selling them. I don't need to have anything displayed or set up, because the time of year usually is going to sell pretty quickly. But there were times in my last couple houses that I could feel and sense that something was left behind by somebody coming in to the house, and it just had that creepy vibe. Or better yet, you go in and you buy this house, and then you find out, because it's all of a sudden acting weird and kind of poltergeisty active and all that sort of thing. Then you find out from the neighbor that the kids of that house used to play with the Ouija board, but they didn't know how to play with it. So they just played with it. And then, yeah, you know what? They let all kinds of things in there, which I had to deal with. But, it's a really interesting type of thing. So did you ever find, obviously you're in a house now, but did you ever find that house that you felt good about or better about after all of this? You can sense it.
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, I just want to get back to that other house first. So when we went back to out west, I was telling some coworkers, and one person's like, well, you're a paranormal investigator. You shouldn't be afraid. I'm like, we do get scared. I was not prepared. I'm not there for an investigation. I don't have my shields up. I'm there to buy a house. Yep. I was not prepared. Yep. So that's why. But the house that we're in now, I sage every once in a while the house. As soon as people start, it's almost like the air just gets heavy and people start getting a little crabby. So it's like, okay, time to sage, because you bring a lot of stuff from the grocery store or whatever, right? Yeah. So I had finished saging. We had only been here a short time. My daughter and I are in the living room watching television, and the front door, we have used the side door because we never use the front door. And so the dog bed was there, and all of a sudden, my daughter says she saw somebody go to the front door. It had a light source. Mm-hmm. I didn't see that part, but I saw them leave. Mm-hmm. So, but I have to tell you, that winter, it was winter, that winter, it snowed every day. And then the next year we had massive flooding, but we had lots and lots of snow. So it sounded like somebody, so we have the inside door, then the outside door. It sounded like somebody tried to rip the outside door off. Animals reacted and everything. So I get up, and it was a Thursday because I remember that's when we get our flyers. So I thought, well, maybe the person for the flyers tried to put them in between the door or whatever. So I go look outside. There's no footprints in the snow.
Oh, God.
None. And it's snowing, but it was not that much time that the footprints would have been covered with the snow. If there was somebody there, I would have seen the footprints. Mm-hmm. Nothing. So my daughter's like, Mom, and I'm saying, well, maybe it's the house shifting. She says, no. I'm like, yeah, well, maybe it's this, Mom. I'm like, yeah, you're right. And this is why I sage. I don't know what tried to get in, but it couldn't get in.
Did they leave any kind of a dent in the door, or did the door seem like it worked fine after you tried it?
Well, the door was ajar.
Yeah.
And I have the little deadbolt on the door.
Yeah.
So that's probably what the bang was as they're trying to rip the door, and the deadbolt or whatever, it's just a small one, was in a little bit, but it wasn't out fully, but the door was ajar, and it's just like, okay, then. Yeah. It wasn't the wind.
No, I know. Well, and I can add to that because I was sitting in my office one night, and this is in a previous home, and all of a sudden I heard whammo, like bang. It sounded like someone picked up a chair or something and threw it across the room. And of course, keep in mind that nothing ever got thrown across the room. Nothing was ever thrown. Nothing ever fell down. Nothing. Well, there was one thing. So I had this poster thing here, and it was locked in pretty tight. And you would had to have taken your fist and literally punch it really, 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 really super hard. And I think the whole thing would have fallen over, but it never did. The thing did pop out though, and to this day, I swear that there must have been a portal or something, at least in that room, that brought something in there. That's too weird, and it's too unexplained. Just like your door situation, it's too weird, it's too unexplained, and no footprints in the snow. And with even though it was snowing, you would have had some footprints, obviously still there, despite it all. So very, very interesting. I know. Have you heard of anything? Let's see. There's one individual I'm going to be interviewing on the show. I believe I saw him on your show. who you guys were talking about human combustion, I believe, and he seemed relatively knowledgeable about that. Do you remember any remnants of that interview that you had? You had kind of a round table with a few other individuals. What kind of consensus or conclusions did you guys come to during that? I didn't get a chance to watch the whole episode.
It's just a really strange event. I mean, we've all done some research, and there was actually a case in the UK. I can't remember if it was a man or a woman, and the coroner actually put cause of death, spontaneous human combustion, which was really weird. But to me, like, if something's going to, some people talk about the wick effect. You know, if you have too much fat and you've drank alcohol and things like that. But to me, that doesn't make sense. If the heat is hot enough to be able to do that to a human body, why is it the chair that they're sitting in has not been singed?
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
I just, it's such a fascinating topic, and it's something that back in the 80s, 90s, used to see it all the time on Ripley's Believe It or Not, you know, and they used to talk about it a lot back then, and all of a sudden you don't hear about it. So that's why I wanted to do the little round table, and some people are like, oh yeah, you haven't heard about that in a while. So I don't know why it's not discussed anymore. Does it not happen anymore? Or I don't know, but I really don't know what's caused it.
Yeah, I was at a conference in Las Vegas, and some topic came up. Maybe he was just curious, but there was a guy that was who brought up the story of his friend who actually humanly combusted and to ashes. Yeah, he was, and he was pretty depressed when he brought it up. Yeah, my friend, you know, and he just combusted, and I think he was searching for answers too. But there's obviously, we have some kind of electricity of some sort, you know, sparking us and keeping us also going. And I know I have a tremendous effect in some way, and I don't even know how I do it, on electronics and everything. So there's some kind of connection there. But it is fascinating. People are like, nah. It's like, nope. There are some things we can't explain in this world, and whatever it was, too much alcohol combined with whatever, and then oof, you know, kind of like, you know, there's these trees that actually can light themselves on fire from the inside out. There's a certain oil that they have inside these certain trees, and at a certain time or a point, they actually can self-combust themselves on
That's
fire.
interesting.
Yeah, I know. I can't remember which tree it was, but all of a sudden you see the thing going up in flames. You don't want to be next to that tree. But it's very interesting, though, and everything. So if you had to make some recommendations to people about, I don't know, probably ghost hunting, searching, or thinking about some of these topics that we talked about today and how to wrap our heads around it, what kinds of thoughts would you bring to the table on all of this?
How so?
Well, let's start with ghost searching and hunting. I know people say ghost searching or hunting. What would you recommend that people not do? Because there's going to be a lot of new listeners listening to this show right now, and there might be some newbies out there wanting to explore. That's, you know, red flag number one. Explore some of this stuff. What would you suggest they really think about before they delve into this?
First of all, don't go investigating alone. You should have a buddy system, not just because something could happen with spirits, but what if you're out someplace in the wilderness, whatever, and you fall in a hole? Nobody's going to know that you're there. Right. You need to have a buddy system. So to me, you shouldn't go alone. Don't antagonize the spirits, because do you really want to upset something that you really can't see, that could potentially push you or throw, or, you know, and know what your equipment is able to do. I have a FLIR, one of those things that it tells you, I can never describe this piece of equipment properly. It's not meant for ghost hunting, but we use it. I could put it in front of you, and your head's going to be red on it because it shows the heat.
A thermal.
Yeah. Thermal, thank you. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
thermal.
So when I first got it, a friend said, again, learn what your equipment is able to do, because a lot of this paranormal investigating equipment is not meant for that. It's meant for something else. So what I did was I'd put my hand on the wall and I'd use the thermal imaging on it. You can see my handprint, and I'd go back 5 minutes later and it's starting to disappear. Well, say you're in a group, and say you and I are investigating, and I didn't know you just walked down that hall and had your hand on the wall, and I come along behind and I see a handprint and I go, something touched the wall. You got to figure that out. So I also had people sit on the couch. I touched my dog's back. You could see it. So just learn what your equipment is able to do, and don't just assume that because it goes bump in the night, it's paranormal, because a lot of times it's not.
Yeah, I can add to that one too. There's this one bridge somewhere. I cannot recall where it's at. And I think it has some kind of a incline or a decline or an incline. And people always get excited because they take that thermal, or they take something, and there's all these little tiny fingerprints or these little handprints or whatever on the vehicle in some way. Well, people don't realize that sometimes the oils from their hands or whatever, even though it may have been a clean car or the car has been clean, the minute these hands with the oils or whatever touch this vehicle, can still leave a residue on a clean car. So everyone's like, oh my God, I got handprints on the car, and there's handprints pushing the back of the car and stuff like that because we just had it cleaned, and look at all these handprints. Yeah, but you don't realize that sometimes even when you clean a car, whatever residue it was that it picked up from your hands, just like what you said, can still be there. So people get misled about that stuff all the time. I do agree with you 100%. Sometimes ghost searching, hunting, shouldn't be done alone. There's lots of, and Kat and I can probably both, if we haven't gotten our point across, sometimes if your guard is down, and all of a sudden it decides that it wants to enter you in some way, you can find yourself pretty dazed and pretty trance-like. I have been in many trances. I was just channeled a couple nights ago in another state at a conference. In my bed and breakfast, my husband got nervous. He thought something was weird about me. He was going to call 911. I knew I was being channeled by something there because I had captured and seen these very bright orbs, or something followed me from the place we were having this conference. And I just was remain calm. Remain calm. That's the other thing. I think don't freak out if people start talking in tongue around you. I don't know. What would your recommendation, Kat, be if someone started talking a little wonky and they just didn't seem to be themselves? What would you do? How would you handle that?
Well, I think that first of all, you have to make sure they don't have any kind of a medical condition. Because assume that there is something happening that's not necessarily paranormal. Make sure they're a safe environment. They could be having a seizure or something. We don't know. Make sure that there's nothing around them that if they happen to fall, that they could hurt themselves with, and just be with them. And once you know that they're going to be safe, it's difficult to know when to call 911, to be honest.
By the time they get there, and if you say they're acting a little weird, I know you know as well as I the process. They'll probably end up charging you $700+ for the ambulance visit. Then they're going to bring you, and they might do a test on you, and then you end up with that expense. And a lot of people don't have the money to get that. And a lot of times, like what happened with me, I was waiting for whatever it was to release from me, because I don't know, it just came at me, not harsh, just very gradually, and then all of a sudden I just zoned out into La La Land, which was not normal for me, and I felt very funny, but I was trying to figure out what was going on. I don't know if it seems like it's a seizure, like Kat said, of course you have to call 911 and all that sort of thing to try to make sure that
You froze up for a second there.
Oh, sorry. To make
okay.
sure you call 911 to make sure that they're, are okay. Sometimes you don't have a choice. That's your only choice if you want safety in mind. So yeah. No, I agree with you on that. So
it's like when you take, because if you took a first aid course, they teach you to assess the situation and the location first, make sure that you're going to be safe, trying to go help the individual that whatever is going on, you got to make sure that you're going to be safe too. So it's just these things that you just have to think about too, and make sure that everybody's going to be okay.
And make sure you have a medical kit of some sort, because you know what? It is so easy to gash your leg, gash your foot. If you're not wearing the right shoe wear or footwear or any kind of boots. I was just out in Pennsylvania as an example. There's a lot of people that want to rummage through the woods. We were on a tour. The gal said very bluntly, and if you're out there rummaging in the woods, please be mindful. We have rattlesnakes and copperheads, and the minute they bite you, you don't have much time to get help or figure out what to do. These things exist out here. It's their territory as much as what you want to believe to go, searching for a Sasquatch or searching for whatever you think you want to find. You might find it, but you also might find yourself into some trouble too. So yeah. Yep. So on that note, we are wrapping up here, and I want to thank you so very much. I want you to tell everybody again the quickest way or the easiest way that they can find you, and then we will give this a wrap up, and we'll have to have you back in the future to continue our discussion. So the podium is yours there, Kat. What do you want to say?
So if you want to reach out to me, the easiest way is email paranormalheart13@gmail.com. I'm also on Facebook, I'm on Instagram and all that, but the easiest way to get in touch with me is through the email. Like I said in the beginning, if you just want to say hello, you want to have you have suggestions for a topic or a guest or anything like that. Because when I first started the show, I thought paranormal was just ghosts, and then I realized that no, it's cryptids and UFOs, and it's a broad category. So, I don't know how much time we have left, but I just want to mention that this year I had gone to a Bigfoot conference in Gatineau, which is just on the other side of the water from Ottawa, Ontario. I had Sabine Blais, she's the organizer. I had her on the show. She's going to be doing another one next year, August 15th and 16th. She's going to do a 2-day event, and I'm actually going to have a vendor table, and she's going to give me like 20 minutes floor time just to talk about my show a little bit and introduce myself. So I can't wait. So I hope people will go to that event. It's going to be growing fast because, like, in Canada, we don't have conferences like you do in the U.S. So she is a trailblazer for sure.
Well, we have too many of them to the point where, they get a little thin, here, because people don't know where to go anymore. But up there, that should be really, really exciting. And I'm glad she's giving you some time. And again, Kat's going to have some good swag at her vendor booth. So, and that's just outside of Ottawa, up in on the Ontario side. Yeah.
Yep. It's in Gatineau, Quebec. But if you're in Ottawa, there's a bridge that takes you across the river, and Gatineau's right there.
Cool. Well, everyone look it up, especially, and I've got a few Canadians listening here, but you know what? There's a lot of us where I live in Minnesota, always going over the border to Canada. So we'll get there once in a while. So on that note, thank you so very much, Kat, for being on the show today.
Thank you for watching and listening to Paranormal Latte Podcast. We have been broadcasting on the United Public Radio and UFO Paranormal Radio Networks, 105.3 FM from the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in New Orleans, as well as several listening platforms. The content, music, and creative sound effects as heard on Paranormal Latte podcast are copyrighted and licensed commercially to Dr. Kelly Renee Schutz. Please do not reproduce in any manner without the express permission of Dr. Kelly Renee Schutz, Diamond Point Entertainment, LLC, Paranormal Universal Press, LLC, Paranormal Latte podcast, and or any affiliated networks such as the United Public Radio and UFO Paranormal Networks. The opinions and information expressed by the guests, hosts, and sources as heard and seen on the Paranormal Latte podcast are not necessarily those of Diamond Point Entertainment, LLC, Paranormal Universal Press, LLC, Paranormal Latte podcast, and the United Public Radio and UFO Paranormal Networks, as well as their producers. Although the content of the shows may be interesting, the information and opinions within are deemed for entertainment purposes only. Subscribe to continue your enjoyment and interest, and thank you for making Paranormal Latte podcast part of your day. Now that was good.